Hello, everybody. This is the very last, not last forever, but this is the last stream for this boot camp. Hello, loves. And Shep, this isn't a question, but I love this is more of a comment than a question because it lets us go ahead and pressure everybody. Oh, I hope they really do more boot camps than that. Oh, I didn't mean to put praise on this, but oh, what fabulous. So Shep is far too nice and talking about Ramon.
I believe that's plural.
It's a typo. Uh, But we'll go ahead and we'll go back and plan some more and do some more boot camps, right?
I want to, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I would bet imaginary internet money that we're going to do some more. And do we have a special guest with us?
Just the most special. We've got Galbrush on with us. For those of you that have been doing the JavaScript bootcamp, Galbrush has been helping us on a good chunk of the streams, helping me organize my thoughts, bookmark questions, and make sure that folks get their voices heard and get all the links they need. So welcome, Galbrush. I'd love to have you tell us a little bit about yourself and how this experience has been for you, if I may.
Hello. Well, the experience has been great because everybody's commenting on the great teachers that there are on this wonderful boot camp. I'm sorry, I have a bit of a raspy voice today. I've got a bit of a cold.
It sounds very cool.
I think so. I was kind of thinking like, yes, for this stream, I got a very nice voice.
Very lounge singer.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go into singing for the next 2-3 days because I just got cough syrup, so it's got to go away. But for that very limited time period. Yeah, no, I did the boot camp last time round, so I think about a year ago. No,
oh gosh, it's coming
not quite,
up.
But it's
coming up on it.
A long while ago, and ever since then, I just started doing a little project here and a bit there, and I actually just started a master's degree in computer science. Yes.
How scary! How exciting! How does it feel? A master's degree.
It's very exciting. It took a while because I don't have a bachelor's degree in that field, so it took a while to find a master's degree that I can do. But I found one in England, actually. So I'm doing a distance degree.
Okay. I was going to say, are you going to be right near me? But if it's distance, I bet I know which one it is. I'm just nosy.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it's great. And I really love it. But it is scary to really go into a whole master's degree because that's commitment. But yeah.
This is actually a really good jumping off of what we wanted to talk about today, which is what can folks do? What can learners do as they come out of these? And folks are not necessarily going to be finished with all the projects. It's cool. Everything's cool. Everything's going to be cool. But I wanted to sort of talk about what kinds of things we often see learners do. And one thing I'd love to hear from folks in the chat is, what would you like to do? What's your end goal? Not the end of you, but what kinds of things would you like to be able to do?
Yeah, and as Jess said, this is not the end. The recordings will stay on YouTube, the forum will stay open, the Discord will stay open. And what I've been telling folks a lot during this last 6 weeks is this is a time to become collaborative as well, if possible. I'm a big advocate for creating small study groups where you get together every now and then. I actually have an accountability buddy or two, where we just check in and make sure we're doing what we want to do and not overextending ourselves. And that sort of, yes, believe it or not. And just sort of motivating each other. And of course, we're here to answer questions that you might have so that you can, feel prepared moving forward.
So we've got so Alex is like, I want to make a career change. I want to get out of chemistry and learn to code to see if a career change. So are you thinking maybe something like programming or maybe, do you know what? There's a lot of code plus chemistry roles, I think. And Jane is saying something really similar, saying, hey, right now I'm a freelance translator.
Ooh.
Definitely going to ask you about that because that's too cool. And you're thinking about adding. I love this. I love this. So saying, hey, I'm a freelance translator. I'd like to add the ability to freelance programming as well, because translations, and I've heard that so many times that the translation industry is getting really crowded. So we've got a bunch of people. So somebody who's absolutely rocking is like, wait, well, the stream will totally be available later. Everything's fine. But lots of folks. So Logan's like, hey, I want to get a job in the tech industry. Let's talk about that. Do we think that after a 6-week web, or even a 6-week web and a 6-week JavaScript, that you're ready to apply for jobs?
I'd love to hear folks' opinions. If not, I'd offer mine.
I mean, your opinion is what I'm really here for, you and Galbrush. So what do y'all think?
I mean, I can only talk about myself as if would I have felt ready to do so? I think that's also an interesting question that maybe many of the learners now will also have. And to be honest, I don't know. I think I would have felt ready to maybe apply, or I guess I would have wanted to have a few projects. So that's what I started doing, and what I would want to start doing is to have a few projects where I can say, okay, I've tested stuff out. And if somebody asks me to do something, it's at least not the first time I may have thought about it. So I think that would have been my first go-to. But I think some people actually have managed to find some place where they can learn on the job, which is also amazing if you can do that.
Totally.
And that's sort of my take as well. So often when folks say, I'm done with the boot camp, I'm going to get a job. Some folks absolutely do. But your point, hey, you know what, this works better with me taking some more projects, or me doing some open source, or, oh no, a cat. Oh no, not on the keyboard. I'm so sorry. So getting some of these projects, or doing some open source, or doing an internship, even though they're hard to find. Oh gosh, I'm gonna pick on somebody. So we've got somebody saying, "Hey, I think unpaid internships are the best to start." I feel like, Ramon, do you threaten your learners a lot?
Not on purpose. I'm also getting
Okay. In that case, obviously y'all are grown-ups, and I can't actually whoop you. I would if I could. But please don't take unpaid internships. If you want to do unpaid work, you can make websites for your friends and family. Definitely get them to make you dinner. You could do some open source work. But if you've got a company saying, oh, here's an unpaid internship, just send them to me and I will threaten them. Like, yeah, any company who's like, come work for us for free. We don't, I'm not telling you who to trust, but I wouldn't trust them.
Yeah, I'm very much in agreement that we should not be doing work for free. And it is possible to find places that can help you grow. Something I quite often hear is that I love what Kai says here. Exposure doesn't pay the bills. It is absolutely possible to find a place. I don't want to, promise the stars. It's not easy to find a place, but they do exist.
But let's talk about some of these routes. So where are places you can go to get more experience? If I say, okay, I finished this boot camp, I'm really hyped. Where can I go to make more projects to build out my portfolio page? Hey, who's working on their portfolio page?
Yeah.
So I'm a learner. That's not true. These learners are way better than this than I am. Where can I go to get more experience?
I recently found a few websites because I wanted to get more into GitHub and generally Git management, because I never quite grasped it. And I also remember that Razel had a stream this time round as well, where she explained Git and how it works and what the idea behind it is. And the first thought I had was, oh my God, brilliant. I don't have to write final. This time it's really the final version under everything I do, but I actually have some sort of version control. But it was still very tricky for me to actually do it. And so I was like, I want to get into GitHub and understand it properly. And I just Googled first issues, and you can look on GitHub, for example, there's labels that you can filter for, which is like a good first issue or good first bug, I think, which I also was just amazed by, that there is actually this thing, and there are websites that just list good first GitHub issues. So with just a bit of duck going, and you can actually find so much to
And
get
this
you
is to get started
started.
with open source projects?
Yeah. So this
Oh.
is to get started with open source projects, and generally also getting familiar with GitHub and Git in itself, which I think, or I'm so happy that I did, because it just really changes the way that I work and that I write code, because I can trust that I can't break anything beyond repair, because I can always just go back.
Nothing too
I-
bad can happen.
I love that you mentioned that, Galbrush, because I think because there's oftentimes, especially even for me, even to this day, I get a little intimidated when I'm looking at open source projects and I don't know where to begin and all that. And I think like I'm just going to be a nuisance, perhaps to maintainers. And I would love to, throw it out there. A lot of open source projects, the maintainers are oftentimes a small group of people who have their lives to take care of, and they've got other things going on and day jobs, and they're often super nose down in the code and not really aware of something like, say, an onboarding process, how to help someone get started with their code. And that's something that you, as a relative newcomer, can be extremely valuable in, because then you can come in and start asking questions. And asking questions is so good. And I have no doubt that y'all are going to be amazing at that, because at least in the JavaScript bootcamp, I get the best questions. Y'all question everything, and I think that's so critical. And you should absolutely do the same thing, again, with respect, again, with candor towards maintainers, asking, for example, hey, I tried setting this up, but it didn't work. Here's my error message. What went wrong? And then what you're doing is showing the maintainer like, oh gosh, I haven't tried this. Maybe the maintainer, has a Linux computer, right? And they've haven't tried it on Mac OS in 5 years. And here you come with your Mac OS computer, your Windows computer, and go say, hey, it doesn't work on my machine. Here's an error message. Then you start a conversation that turns into collaboration, that turns into experience, that turns into project contribution, and that very quickly can cascade. But it involves seeking out a project and taking that first step. Sorry, that was a bit of a ramble. I really love that aspect of it.
But I also think, like, I remember last time around we did the bootcamp, there was some error in a free code camp or on a free code camp page. Either it was a typo or it was just something that the tests weren't prepared for. And even something like this, especially if it's a first issue and if it's just noticing a typo on a page, like, that's a contribution. It doesn't always necessarily have to be code based, but you can do so much to help, especially with language learners there and like translators. And there's so much that you can do with open source, with other skills that you have to try to, I don't know, test out the waters before trying out code that might be a bit more scary to do.
I like that. And I know of a couple of open source. I know there are open source projects out there that will very happily do things like, hey, we offer mentorship on these issues. Drop a comment and we'll do our best. They have code jams, events where people can come in and ask those questions. So it is absolutely possible to get in there. Just gotta find those issues. And I think Galbrush put it perfectly. Having a search on your search engine of choice and on GitHub, and do your best.
I believe back in my day, it used to just be called generically web search back when there were a lot of competitors.
I like that. That's more neutral.
Yeah. I'd like to bring back a lot of the 90s lingo. So the idea of surfing or being a webmaster, in hindsight seems very relaxing.
The information superhighway.
Just put me back in a time before Kubernetes. For learners, Kubernetes, you'll likely not understand what they are yet. I would give you a preview, but I don't understand what it is. It's orchestration, it's containers, and genuinely all I have is those words. I'm so sorry. Oh, there's two. I mean, I'm not just saying it because of me, but there's too many different terms in tech. There's too many types of things to learn. What's a good way to prioritize that or to track stuff? Oh gosh, sorry, it's not a quiz. You, Ramon, you look like you've seen a ghost. You're like, what is a good way to track that? And learners as well. Like, do you have a way when somebody says dog food or yak shaving or WebAssembly? Do you have a way to keep track of, oh, what's that? I've got a little cheat sheet. It's a little cheat sheet. But yeah, do you all have a way to sort of continue learning around? Oh, and do you know what? Dags points out, hey, we didn't talk about stuff like these paid programs like Outreachy, which pay you and focus on and saying, yeah, focus on folks that are in marginalized spaces, both physically and identities. So Outreach is fantastic. I really, really love it. And there's more and more free educational and paid internship programs out there.
That's an excellent one. You know, I'm a bit of a mess myself, and you know, I've very early in my career, I started keeping. Hold on a sec. I started keeping little notebooks, just cute little notebooks. That I would just like whenever I learned a new term, just drop it in there for myself, just to get it written out. And after a while, it would just turn into like a giant list. Jess is with me.
This is what I was going to recommend, like having, and I use a multiple hit sounds like a fighting game. I also have tallies. So if I hear the word dog fooding and I'm like, what's that? I'm going to write it down and I can look it up real fast. Yeah, whatever. But if I hear somebody say React, which is a JavaScript framework, it's just a different way to write JavaScript. And if I hear somebody say React, I was like, oh, do I need to learn React? I'll write it down. And every time I hear about it and think, oh, I wish I knew that, I'll add a tally. And then when I look at my thing, say, oh, what'll I learn next? Oh, dang, there's a lot of little tallies next to React.
And then go look it up. That's brilliant.
I mean, I don't actually do it. I just add tallies forever and then put my book away and then it doesn't exist anymore.
I think because someone... Oh, sorry, yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Galbrash.
No, just because someone also said in the chat, like, there are so many terms. And I feel that so much. And especially now, and also for me, because I'm a relative beginner at this. And I think for me, a very much change in mindset was just, I don't have to understand everything.
Yes.
And it's a bit of a tricky situation, because I also remember one time Ramon was teaching me a bit of React because it was just there. And I was sort of nodding along for a bit. And then it's a bit difficult to say, when do I really not have to understand everything? And what's the point at which I say, I didn't get that? Re-explain that to me. And that, I think, is also part of every documentation I read now. For my studies, I have to do Java now, which is very painful to find out how different it is to JavaScript when you did one, that it's actually quite different. And there are so many terms and so many things that I don't understand. And at the very beginning of my coding, I would be like, okay, I can't do this, or I would want to stop. But now it's like, I'm going to skip over it. I'm going to read it again. Like you say, like, keep a tally of what I don't understand, but what I may think this might be important, I'll just write it down so that I'll remember it. But I'm just going to put it to the side for now and get on with what I'm doing, because otherwise it's a rabbit hole of Wikipedia articles and various forms of documentation that doesn't help me in that moment.
And at some point, you'll be looking up how computers in silicon are made. So no, I feel that. I want to offer.
Ramon, how? No, I'm.
I was ready. I was like, okay, I put myself in this situation. I made my bed. Now I'm gonna lie in it. No, I wanna offer something that made me laugh. I have to confess that I keep a separate list that I call my "oh okay fine" list, where I keep all of the "oh okay fine, I'll look up server-side rendering." Oh, okay, fine, I'll look up this or that. Server-side rendering being dynamically generating a website in a server. Once you get more into backend, that'll look more familiar. On the note of backend, I'd love to bring up a question, if I may, from Orilanma. Oh, I'm sorry, Orilanma, you asked it twice. I'm so sorry. You're asking, can I dive into backend directly, or do I need to learn some front-end libraries? I would love to offer the two of y'all to throw up an opinion on this.
Go ahead and get into backend stuff. Why not?
I'm going to keep the question.
Like, I recommend people learn front-end libraries when they start hitting a wall. So if you're going to job interviews or you're trying to get onto projects and everybody's asking for Ember, all right, you probably have to learn Ember. But until then, and people say you've already talked to your learners about vanilla JavaScript and what that means.
A little bit. We did a very little bit.
So with people saying React and meaning Java a framework, or Ember or Angular all being types of JavaScript, vanilla JavaScript sounds like another framework, but that's just a fancy, annoying tech way to say plain old JavaScript with no frameworks.
Yep.
I'd say going ahead and playing with some backend stuff. In this case, if you're happiest with JavaScript, might be Node, which is a backend way to use JavaScript framework approach. Oh no, hang on. Y'all continue answering this. I need to look up Node in a pressing way all of a sudden.
You're totally fine. Galvash, I don't know if you had an opinion.
My opinion is just because it says, can I dive into backend direct? And I think if there is like a real oomph, like a real want to do that, I think to write that, like if you have really like, if you feel it and if you want to do it, don't stress yourself out about learning something else first. If it's not strictly necessary, like if it's not really like, okay, I can't do this before I learn something else. But since you said with like plain vanilla JavaScript and HTML and CSS, you can get so far that backend really is, I think, a wonderful step to take. Because it's more of the holistic approach. If you say backend doesn't interest me, I just want to do the front end stuff, fine. But in any case, I think having an understanding and appreciation of what the other side is doing is super helpful, also in designing and anything else.
Yeah, I wanna agree there. I think a common misconception I find when getting into coding, and something that unfortunately I wish we did a better job of, is really outlining how, for better or for worse, because coding and coding and tech are so multifaceted, that you will find people reaching their goals in through widely different paths. So asking questions like, should I do this first or should I do that first? For example, should I do web development or JavaScript first? It's a valid question, but I find these skills to be in one way kind of complementary, but on the other end, very distinct. A front end and a back end will communicate. A front end will ask, hey, can I have some of that data? The back end's going to be like, let me do my thing and I'll get it for you, right? But as a front end, you don't care what the back end's doing. All you care is that you get your data. Same goes for the back end. You don't care about how the front end displays that data. You get that request and you're like, you want that, huh? Give me a sec. Here you go, right? And that distinction means that you can go into one, and then if you find out you don't like backend, you can look into front end. And let me tell you right away, if you do that, it is not a waste of time. It is absolutely not. And I'll tell you why. If you do, for example, backend in JavaScript, then you've got JavaScript skills that you're going to be bringing back to the front end, because JavaScript is JavaScript, right? And concepts are going to carry over as well. When you're noticing issues when developing front end, you're going to be like, I wonder if that's a backend thing. I seem to remember from my backend days that this error kind of looks like some kind of MongoDB error, which is a type of database. And then you're going to be like, I'm going to ask those right questions to the backend team. So no, there is no wrong path. I mean, as long as the goal is the same, I don't think there's a wrong path. I'm happy to be disagreed with. But yeah, I hope that helps a little bit. Can I dive into backend directly? I'd say so. Cool. Oh, can I bring up another question? I'd love to bring this one up from Brian. Is there any importance of learning C programming in jobs?
I got this one. It depends on the job. Sorry. If you're going to do some kinds of gaming, or if you're going to do some kind, like all of my friends who do astronomy know C, and all my physics friends know C. But I have lived a very rich, full life without ever writing any. So if it depends on the type of programmer you want to be, or the type of astronomer you want to be. And I'm so sorry that it depends.
I think such questions, like from a learner's perspective, are always so difficult, because I can web search, depending on how I formulate the question, like, why shouldn't I learn C, brings me a different set of articles to why should I learn C, because you'll find the information for both. You'll find people saying, Python is not a good language, or JavaScript is not a good language, or whatever. Like, so many opinions. And like any other group, I feel like programmers are a very opinionated crowd, who have their babies and the stuff that they like, and they want to protect that, and everything else is kind of maybe sometimes not the right way to go. If you ask me, I would always say this is the right way to go. But it very much depends on what you want to do and what you feel comfortable with also. Because if something comes easier to you than something else, then I don't think if it's programming and you're learning the concepts and the basics, I think anything is a wonderful way to start. And then you'll find out what a language doesn't provide you with, or what you wish for. And sooner or later, you're going to stumble over something that you'll find interesting that language provides, or that you find a deal breaker. Like, I don't like the way strings are portrayed in this particular language, and therefore I will switch to another language.
I like that. And I think, this kind of ties in, like, I kind of want to say something that ties in with the previous question. And that is about learning one language over the other. We just spent 6 weeks talking about JavaScript, at least with the JavaScript bootcamp. And I got a couple of people there saying, like, see, this is why I like Python more. And I found that interesting, because I thought, hold on, but we're learning JavaScript here. Right? But I think it's really important to, when, for example, we're looking for a job and the job is not in C, well, it doesn't sound, if there's no programming done in C, if there's no programming adjacent to C, then no, you don't need to learn C. But I think it's important. I think it's important to bear in mind that those skills do carry over between languages. Once you will have been at this for a while, you're going to notice that you might feel comfortable taking on a Python project, maybe having zero Python experience. if you're like me and you like to make mistakes a lot, or you feel comfortable making mistakes a lot.
To me, it feels a bit like puzzles. It's as soon
Mm.
as you know one language or some coding stuff and some coding terms, then I know what to look for in another language, and I can type in like, oh, how does this concept work in this language? And then it really becomes interconnected and starts to, I don't know, fire up the neurons in your brain, and you really start getting it. And I would, I don't know if that goes against everything that you to, I don't know, believe or would recommend, but I really recommend trying out a little bit of a different language and just trying to portray something, like trying to console log. Just
Yeah.
go and look at console logging. I am so envious because every time I'm here with the bootcamp, it's just console log. And then I go back to Java and it's system out line, print line. And then you have to do everything else. And
It's
it's
a
so much
verbose
more
language,
effort.
Galbrush.
It is, but it's so much fun if you have both and you just know it, and then you can grumble a bit like, wow, I wish I could steal that bit for here. But it really becomes like puzzle pieces, and it can be so much fun. I'm having such a great time just failing, basically, because I do it like I thought it would work. It's a bit like languages. It's a bit like, I don't know, speaking Italian and then learning Spanish, and then you're trying like, it might be the same word. I'll just put it in here, and then somebody will look at you and be like, no, it's not, and then you have to go look for it.
Love it. I would love to move to answer a couple more questions, but I'd like to address one thing, if I may. It's not so much a question, but a statement from Carlos saying, "Oop, sorry, lost that one for a sec." No, you're fine. I think Ramon is a developer terminator who came from the future to solve a JavaScript project in 10 minutes and make me feel like, what have I done this afternoon thinking that on that
So
project a few hours? Yes?
I work with Ramon in his day job. And while you're great at everything and fantastic all the time, you're not magic.
This is exactly what I wanted to address.
And I am so happy with me saying, I consistently go to Ramon and be like, hey, don't tell the other kids, adult professional coworkers, I forgot how to do this incredibly basic thing in Git. Help. And you always do. And then every now and again you'll be like, do. Oh no, how do I do JavaScript? It happens.
Yeah.
Everything's fine.
The reason I wanted to address this is because I want to be. Yes. Oh, Jeff.
Is
This is
Jeff
so
in your
good.
boot camp as well? Because he's always just like, hello, here's the best possible way to say this. It would be annoying if he wasn't an absolute gift every single moment of every day. It's just like, oh, hey, were you trying to say this? I'd be like, I was. And that's the most kind way to say it. Huh.
I have a lot of people who do this for me. I think Jeff, I think you might be in the States, and maybe that's not why I don't see you live. It could be. I'm doing it, in an early at a very unreasonably US unfriendly time. But what I wanted to say as well is that for the purposes of the boot camp, I need to have a solution prepared. What I'm doing is showing you how I prepared it. This is not me solving something live. And I try to be as upfront about that as possible.
So you're cheating.
a little bit. I think that's fair to say. But what I really want to address is that, I have gotten stuck teaching this boot camp. And I have video evidence of it. If you want to watch 25 minutes of me suffering, the reason Galbrush is laughing is because she's been there. She was there when it happened. Yeah, it happens. We all get stuck.
I really like what Kai's saying. May I highlight this?
Please.
Oh, it's moving up. It's coding has really taught me to be so much more okay with things going wrong or failure. And I would even expand on that, and it's like, I'm looking for the failure. I'm looking for the fun bits. At the moment, I have to do a project, and the only thing that I do at the moment is trying to make my program fail so that I know where I have to improve it. And it's so much fun to spend like 10 minutes inputting stuff to just see when it's like, I don't know what to do. So I really love, I love that you say that way, because I think then it starts to get fun if you allow yourself that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, um, I want to address another question because there's a couple of them about like what kind of boot camps we'll be doing next and all that. I want to take a moment to address to highlight one or two things that you can do as well. Is it cool if I share my screen real quick?
I am decidedly not the boss of you.
I want to take a moment to highlight some of the other certifications that Free Code Camp offers, and a lot of these are fantastic, such as backend development and API certification, relational databases. There is a path, pardon me, there's a pathway highlighted here of next steps that you can take. Now, whether we'll be doing a bootcamp specifically about these, can't tell you yet, because we don't know. It remains to be seen.
I can almost promise you that I'm going to be teaching web development again. Like I like to hang out with web development. I get to hang out with you creative weirdos. And also I'm very bad at, no. I conspicuously avoid the back end.
And no, that's Jess, you are absolutely wonderful and enjoy.
Oh no, I mean, like, I'm not going to do it. Nobody can make me.
That's fair.
That was just a more
That's
polite way
fair.
to say it.
That is very fair.
Because sometimes people are like, "Oh, you're not bad at that. Don't worry." But like, no, it's fine. It's good. I'm not going to do it. You have a good, yeah. So we'll get Jeff to teach Kubernetes. We'll just space out. Yeah, platypus, teaching databases. Wonderful. We'll just get everybody to work for free. It'll be fun.
Wait a minute. Didn't we say something about not working for free?
Oh yeah, but that was for other people. If it's us, they trust. I'm absolutely kidding. We'll never ask you to work for free.
I also want to recommend to folks, because I've there have been a couple folks during the bootcamp saying like, hey, this question is really poorly phrased, or I find the way that this is structured not really good for me. I want to take an opportunity, if I may, kind of bringing some stuff together that we were talking about. Free Code Camp is open source. It is totally possible, if you want, to recommend an improvement in wording. It is totally possible, if you want, to recommend a improvement in structure. These courses are open source, and it's something that you can do. It's a good way it's kind of a good way to help you with your learning experience and also help you with your journey into open source if that's something you want to do. Yeah. Sorry, just wanted to point that out. And let's see. Can I bring up a random question? Is that okay?
Yeah. I mean, you're driving. Everything's fine.
I don't want to be the boss of anybody, but here's a question.
Oh, I mean, somebody's got to be Galbraith. You're the boss.
Oh wow! Don't put me in that position. You don't want to.
Oh,
you don't want to
I'm
meet me in that
excited.
position.
Well, I'm not excited to put you in a position you don't want. I'm excited for this question because I'm on Twitter. It's like old people TikTok with fewer videos. I said what I said. And there's like a tech Twitter, sort of an ecosystem. And tech Twitter loves to argue about this point. I'd probably, this is unhelpful, but it depends, I say it again as well. So country to country in different employment markets,
Yes.
I know that some countries are like, you must have a computer science degree to work as a developer or to work at a tech job. Lying to learners isn't going to help. I was going to try and unnaturally soften something, but for folks who come from well-represented backgrounds, if you are from a background where you look like other people in tech or you come from a similar social class that people in tech industry, it's much, much easier to get in without a degree. So it is possible in almost all contexts, but it's not, tech isn't magic. It's not equally fair to everybody.
No.
I think I might be an edge case myself because I get to work being a happy goofball, but I don't have a tech degree. I think Rebo, do you?
I don't even have a degree.
Do you not?
I do not.
Oh, can I get you to? I'd love you to do like comparative world literature.
What, the degree?
It's not.
Comparative.
Yeah, you'd just be so fun in discussion.
Oh, that actually sounds delightful.
And Galbraith, you're just about to get a master's. Is it rude to ask why you were thinking you'd like to add a master's?
Not at all. I mean, I'm a bit of a mess with what all of that is concerned because I did my bachelor's degree in English and American Studies. I have a second, almost finished bachelor's degree in business economics, yay, which is good and is fine. But living where I live, degrees are very often the thing to have. Like they've been on vogue for quite a while. And my final degree for actually wanting to go after a master's is that I thought for me it was the best insurance of getting a very broad basis of knowledge where computer science is concerned, so that I can go a bit of artificial intelligence and have a person explain that to me, go into cybersecurity and have a person explain that to me, and to really get a bit of peace of mind that I have a basis, that I have a piece of paper in my hand that says you have a basis, and that's great. And I think also for me, part of it is that I get to learn with other people, and I get to like piggyback off of their enthusiasm as well. And that was the decision for me why I wanted to go after a master's degree there. And yeah, I think for me, I am very motivated by that on its own. So it was a bit of an insurance for me to keep my motivation up and to keep doing it, and to not get distracted by other things, like get drawn into other, I don't know, holes of Wikipedia or of learning, because I do like to learn. And so for me, it's like, okay, I have this path that somebody's given me and that I can add my stuff on, because I don't keep to that path. Like they don't explain everything to me, but I get to see so many buildings where I can say like, I want to explore this and get it onto my plate. And I'm really enjoying this at the moment, this sort of freedom to explore while having somebody dictate the main road is giving me personally peace of mind, because then I don't have to second question everything that I'm doing, because I know that a basis is given to me and is there. If that makes sense.
That makes
Thank you so
tons of
much.
sense.
Yeah.
And do you know what? I think that I am not going to be able to top that usefulness in any kind of way in an advice session. So I might gently and politely bow out. I'm so sorry that I've got to get to a thing for a conference I'm speaking at. Actually, I'm speaking at a conference where I'm just effectively bragging about the boot camp and being like, here are the lessons learned from all these learners being so smart and cool. I don't mention any of the mentors, and I just like deleted Ramon from all of it. It's like, here's what I did all by myself. But thank you so much. I absolutely adore all of you, and I will see you in Discord and in the forums. Bye, team.
Bye, Jess. How about you, Galbraith? You got time for a couple more questions that we can chat to the learners about?
Time for more questions, no problem.
Lovely. Let's have a look at what we've got. I wanted to actually outline a comment from Salvador, if I may, who's recommending look at 20 or more job postings in your area that you're interested in and create a table to tally up each skill, JavaScript, React, C#, etc., to get an idea of which should be a priority to learn. I think this is solid advice. I'm really, really intrigued by that. Thank you.
I think that's very solid. I don't know if I will find the comment, but somebody commented before. Let me scroll if I can find it. But it was about being an ex-recruiter and saying that it's super important in that area to want to learn or to show that you want to learn more. Because I don't know yet, having only been in this for a year and a bit, but I assume that coding will not stop as soon as you find a job, and new things will not stop coming as soon as you find your first tech job. So I think that is such a good comment to say. You kind of want to keep learning, and you want to be open for new things and for new concepts. So I thought
Absolutely.
that was also a very good comment in that same area.
Yeah. Let's see what else. What other questions we got? Oh, question here from Lujo that I'm going to address real quick. Haven't finished the boot camps yet. How long do we have to complete them? So, the boot camps are open-ended. The recordings will stay up on YouTube for the foreseeable future, as long as YouTube is a platform, at least. I'm not implying that YouTube is going away. I'm just saying.
I was like, do you know something we don't?
No, I absolutely do not. I am not in any way affiliated with Google. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, recordings are going to stay up. Forums and Discord should stay open. And I think this is the most important part. Let me just come back real quick to Free Code Camp. Free Code Camp, unaffiliated with us, you can get the certifications at any time. Meaning you can come back, and I'm telling you, I've had folks tagging me on LinkedIn 4, 5, 6 months after the bootcamp ended, still showing me their certificates. BS, please tag me and show me your certificates, folks, because that is just the best. Yeah. Let's see what else. Oh, Galbert, I see you bookmarked this question from Dominica. Are these certifications worth it in the eyes of recruiters? Because I've heard from many self-taught devs, they don't really mean anything. That portfolio and skill is all that matters. What do you think? Do you have a take on this?
I wouldn't. Please take everything I say right now with a huge grain of salt, like with a bag of salt. Rice, salt. What is it? Rice, salt. What's the right term?
Pinch of salt.
Pinch of salt. Take it with whatever. I would say that, again, it just shows that you can stick with something. That is, it's the skills that you learned, and it's showcasing that you have a basis. And the question is, can you find a job in your area? However, your area might have the tech field at the moment. Like, is there a huge demand or not a huge demand? Like, I guess it differs greatly depending on where you're from. But so it depends on if what you're looking for is saying like, hey, I have this thing that shows that I can do that I have a good basis in this. And some people might say, yeah, that's cool. That's what we need at the moment. But on the other hand, if you say like, hey, here are these things that I have created, here are these things that I've done, that's my style, that's how I do it, that's especially if you say a portfolio and skill, a lot of jobs in my area that I've been looking at want you to learn, like list GitHub and version control and Git on this as well. So they will be looking at your GitHub page and seeing like, what's the project on there? Like how is it structured? And everything along those lines, what I've been looking at the moment. So I think there, again, just depends is what I think, but that's with the bag of rice or salt.
I think that's a very helpful answer. Thank you. And I want to address this head on as well, if I may. If you've heard from self-taught devs that they don't really mean anything, I can't tell you that from my experience. I mean, I am a self-taught dev, but I don't think Free Code Camp was around when I was teaching myself. So I don't have that experience to share. However, I think it's important to keep that in mind. And I really highly agree with Galbrush here that being able to complete something beginning to end has a show of commitment and a willingness to learn, because as Galbrush said, I'm just going to be repeating you, Galbrush. Learning is a critical skill that we bring to the game. When I got my first, I'll get this word out, I promise. When I got my first work in tech, when interviewing, and I was told, Ramon, you have no experience. Why did you apply for this job? And this is a true story. I told them, listen, I know I don't. I've got some experience building some stuff. I think I can learn quickly. Luckily for me, I was able to. Wait, why am I still showing free code camp? Sorry. Luckily for me, I was able to, and this person took a chance on me, which is admittedly rare. But having that flexibility to learn, having that willingness to learn, showing that you can learn something and adapt to it quickly, a good interviewee will notice that. I want to highlight something Daniel said here. Learning is constant in tech. The key is learning to learn. I love that. Yeah, it's such a good session, and enjoying that process. And I think it's important, on top of that, to accept that before knowing something, we don't know it. What does that mean? It means essentially that we have to go through that learning process. Sorry, you look like you wanted to say something there?
No, I think we have to learn how to go through the process, and if at all possible, I would argue to learn to make it fun and to make it enjoyable and to make it be what you want to do with your time. And I know that that's like utopian, and you're never gonna enjoy every bit, or if you do, well done. But I don't think that you'll ever enjoy everything and every aspect along the way. But if you at all can make it a fun experience for yourself to learn and to fail, then that's so valuable. And I think that's also something that the person across from the hiring table will realize and will recognize if you have sort of the enthusiasm to learn and to get to grips with how that company works. I mean, talking about different languages and different coding, different programming languages, different organizations, a startup will be so different in how it works from a big firm, and that's also something to learn. So I think that's also something that every recruiter will want to look at.
Yeah.
In how do you deal with new situations, whether it be in coding and the technical stuff, or whether it be in interpersonal stuff or the organizational hierarchy stuff.
Thank you. I want to also highlight a couple of things that people are saying in the chat that are valuable. Jeff is saying, hiring managers get inundated with entry-level applications. Any demonstrable accomplishment helps set you apart, including certifications, portfolio projects, and experience like internships. Kai also says, don't hide your previous experience. Career changers bring a lot to the table. Perspective is critical in making a team successful. I'm going to answer a more fun question, if I may, from Jane. Do I need to be able to sum all odd Fibonacci numbers to be able to work in this field? I'd love to give you a shot at it, Galbraith, if you like.
I'm just gonna go and say, yeah, you have to, sure. It's done now. It's set in stone. Any tech job now will need this. I don't know, but I think I don't know. I so often get reminded of school and of maths and of students asking, when will I ever need that again? When will I ever need to calculate the volume of a cylinder? And when will I ever need to learn whatever it is? And my argument now, and when I was tutoring math, would always be like, you're just learning problem solving. And anything you learn here is just teaching you ways to solve different kinds of problems. And I don't know, also different arguments that you might have about certain things. I actually once had an argument about how much would fit in a certain cylindrical object, and there it came in very useful. And I was like, that's why I did it. So even such a question, I would say, like, have at it. And if, yeah.
I like that a lot. I can't add much more beyond that. I think learning to think algorithmically is helpful, and I have had lots in the 10ish years that I've been coding. I have had situations where I've had to do things like build a hierarchy um, of objects that have objects as children, and those children have objects as children, and those children have objects as children. And I've had to have them interact with each other, find the correct one, and all that, have these tree-like structures. And I have to say that having some of this experience under my belt maybe didn't help me solve it right away, but it did help me feel comfortable with being like, oh yeah, this is kind of similar to insert algorithm here. And that got set me off. So do I need to be able to sum up all odd Fibonacci numbers to be able to work in this field? I know it's a jokey question, but for the record, no. Or if we're going to be speaking in German, Jein, yes and no. I'd love to highlight what yeah, I love that. Let's take a I want to say what I want to highlight what Jeremy's saying. Math is important in many engineering roles and it helps you programming at a certain level. And I think that's not an incorrect thing to say, especially when it comes to certain complex problems. But let's see. No, but seriously, can a math avoidant person become a programmer if they're not problem solving avoidant, just panicking when stuff looks too mathy, asking for a friend, obviously? I want to let you go first, Galbrush. I don't want to step on your toes.
No, I was just going to say, like, you're going to have way more experience to answer that question. I mean, I will say the important thing is if you say you're not problem solving avoidant, then that's the important thing. I think if you like maths and if you, I don't know, really are really into it and are like a proper good math geek, I think that will sometimes give you a shortcut to what you want to achieve because you have learned something that can be sort of rolled over to programming in maths. But otherwise, I think the basics get you quite far.
I agree wholeheartedly. Now, to be clear, when I said I have had math adjacent problems, does not mean that I have had lots of them. A lot of what I do in web development or other kinds of development is mostly setting up applications, making sure that forms submit, making sure that data moves from one place to another, letting folks being able to create, read, update, and delete data. And not a whole lot of that is mathematical. And I just want to really drive this home. Working in software is multifaceted. There are lots of areas you can go into.
I have a question that I would like to have your answer on, because I think maybe some other people also have that question. What would be your advice to someone who doesn't enjoy coding much, but knows there ain't any other option to him?
Wow. Who doesn't enjoy coding much, but knows there isn't much option in it? What an interesting question. So I think, well, if you don't enjoy coding much, but you enjoy, for example, the areas of software that are adjacent to that, or if you enjoy, for example, if you understand tech, if you understand, for example, what it's like to run a project, there are areas in tech that don't involve much coding, like project management, like, help me out, folks. What other ones? There is, for example, technical writing. There is, for example, content creation. There is, yes, as Mitch said. Excuse me. As Mitch said, Where did I? Sorry, just dealing with a bit of chat here. Here we go. Saw a video. Oh yeah, here we go. I saw a video about this where a web developer said if you don't like coding, there are other non-coding jobs in tech, such as UI or UX design. Exactly. Stick around, then slide into PM, project management, or a sales road. Research. And it can absolutely be done. Analysis. See, I love that folks are chiming in where my brain is absolutely freezing after 6 months of doing this. 6 months, 6 weeks. See, I can't even talk anymore. No, but absolutely, there are areas that you can get into, such as people said, UI, UX, or project management, or sales, or marketing, or, developer marketing, developer experience, developer evangelism, developer advocacy. Yes, there are facets of those that require some knowledge in coding, but the work itself probably does not involve all that much coding. Engineering managers, love it.
What I also want to say, because I have no idea where on your coding journey you are, and for people in the very beginning who say, I don't seem to enjoy coding, but who maybe haven't given it a go, where you have a project or something that you want to try out that you're actually excited about. I think that's also something really cool to try to do. I remember the first thing I did to try and get, like, that got me really excited and thinking about a problem was, I guess many of you know the word game Wordle, and I wanted to find the perfect starting word for Wordle. And that was not a thing where I needed any user interface, and it was a really small project, but it was the first thing I did that was for me, and that wasn't from a tutorial or from something else, but that I was like, I want to think about how to do it my way. It might not be the best way, but I want to do that. So if you have anything, any little problem that you think, hey, I might be able to solve this or get an answer through coding, and that might also be a bit of a motivation boost. But if you really don't enjoy it, that's also not going to be enough. And then all the suggestions that came from learners and from viewers, I think, are worth gold.
Love it. Thank you. All right, I realize we are at the top of the hour. Let's take a moment, maybe answer one more question. Do we have one here? Oh, let's see. Oh, we got a couple more. I'm gonna try and have one. Let's see. Okay. Got a question here from Mahmoud. I can't learn to code from tutorials. Do you recommend some other ways to learn? Maybe Code Wars is a good place to start. So, well, I would recommend the bootcamp we just did. But after that, I think that I think it's critical to know when you're spending too much time learning. Can we talk about that for a second? I've seen a lot of folks who come to me and be like, oh, I can just, I just want to keep I'm keeping using tutorial. I'm still learning, and I've been, doing tutorials, and I was like, you've been doing courses and tutorials for a couple months now. It's okay to give making something a try, because if you get stuck making tutorials, and some people will give this different names. For example, as Carlos says, tutorial hell, or lots of people are agreeing it's called tutorial hell. And what happens? That's the place where you get stuck doing tutorials forever. I want to quote some advice from my friend Arit, and I really like this advice. And that's where she said, if you find yourself able to work on a project without resorting to only a tutorial, but being able to use documentation, being able to learn from error mistakes, being able to make improvements, being able to make suggestions, that's when you're ready.
And I think also if you say that you can't learn from tutorials, exactly. Study other people's code, figure out how it works. And if, depending on what code you use, of course, if it's permissible and if it's allowed to make changes to the code, go wild. Like, try to change. If you're coding a game, if you say there's this tutorial and it's coding this game and I followed it, but at the end I don't really know what I've learned, go back over the code, see what happens when you change certain things, and see if you can make it a little bit more your own, and have that
I
as the
love that.
first entrance into making a whole project by yourself. Just making slight changes to someone else's and then starting to properly understand how that works.
Oh, can we talk about hackathons for a second? A hackathon is an event where you spend a certain amount of time working on a project with a group of people, all centered around a theme. For example, in 2016, I attended the refugee hackathon to help look into solutions that we could, do our bit to help with the refugee crisis happening here in Europe at that time. I made friends there that I keep in touch with to this day. That we work on projects we work on a project that is being used by the city of Vienna to this day. And I did some of my best learning there. And it was mostly by trying. It was mostly by being like, you know what? I've never coded something up to send emails. Can I try that? And that was amazing. That was something where I was able to feel useful and learn loads. So if you can find something like that, absolutely go for it. But you gotta go in wanting to do it. You gotta go in like you gotta want it. You can go and hang out and like drink fizzy drinks all weekend with your friends. Totally fine. But also consider going in and learning full on from it. Sorry, that was something that just like grabbed my attention.
Yeah, and also people keep mentioning the Odin project or CS50, which is a course done by, is it Harvard?
I think it's Harvard CS50. Yes.
Is it Harvard? Yeah, it's Harvard. and those are also, I think those give you a very nice roadmap on how to do your things. And I have done a bit of the CS50 and also the Odin project. They quite quickly want you to do stuff, and they quite quickly want you to do little projects on your own that are entirely what you want them to be. So I think
that.
if you can jump off that, that's also awesome. And if you say the tutorials haven't been doing it for you, give that a go. Maybe that's your kind of learning, and maybe that's where you keep the most that's good for you. I notice that whenever I'm reading documentation, sometimes I get bored of reading, and that's when I go to YouTube to just have someone basically read it aloud to me so that I don't have to read in that moment.
Well,
And that's
Sorry.
also, yeah, and I just find that funny because it's just, I change back and forth to just have it explained differently. If I don't understand one thing, maybe I understand the other.
Let's talk about that for a second, because I find it's really, really critical to know that there are resources that fit your style better. If you prefer watching YouTube videos, there is a lot of stuff on YouTube, like the CS50 course, for example. Or if you prefer reading, you can also read. Like I'm a reader. I like the Git book on the Git website, the free Git book. Like, some people don't like it. I find it great because it goes in depth. Like, that's how I learned how to do my favorite parts of Git. We're 10 minutes past the mark, and I don't want to keep folks from what they need to do. I would like to take the opportunity, if I may, to thank you all for joining us for the last 6 weeks. thanking you, Galbrush, for being here for us and helping us keep things running smoothly. Class Central, Free Code Camp, all of you, the learners. This is not the end. What we've done here in this bootcamp is show you the beginnings, but this is not the end. Please take this opportunity to keep learning, and you can absolutely use the forum, the Discord, to keep going. Share resources. We are hearing your feedback. Please keep going. I see somebody mentioning if I could please share the book. Sure thing. It is a free book on the internet. It is. Here we go. It's not for everybody. I like this book, but that's because I'm a giant nerd. There we go. Oh, sorry to be posting on Jess's behalf. I, Ramon, have sent that book. I want to encourage all of you who are here and watching. You are not alone. Try to find some of you like-minded people and form a study group, if I may. I have accountability buddies where I go to them every week and I check in and I tell them, hey, I'm learning XYZ and I'm enjoying it. I'm struggling with ABC, but next week I hope to get good at FGH.
I have to think about that.
Yeah, no, it's very 8 p.m. right now.
But I just want to underline that so much. Make use of that resource, of this nice community that all of you people are responsible for and have generated and have made. It's just so nice because all of you are so nice in there. Make use of it, keep it going, and keep learning.
Absolutely. Sorry, I'm just grabbing the Discord link. Unless you have it, Galbrush.
I don't have the current one, I don't think.
Links cannot be posted here. I think I can post links because I have special powers. Let me get you all that link to the Discord. I also want to encourage you, if I may, if you prefer not learning in a group, which is totally valid, you can share what you're learning. Can we talk about for a second how cool it is to be able to do things like write a blog post? You might be thinking, Ramon, why would I write a blog post about making a portfolio in HTML and CSS? Why would I write a blog post about my favorite parts about Flexbox? Why would I write a blog post about summing up all of the odd Fibonacci numbers? Here's why. 2 reasons. 1, because you are creating content for that version of you from 6 weeks ago who would have benefited from writing that. 2nd, and this I find is the best part, it helps you to be able to put those thoughts into words and clarify those thoughts and make them visible for yourself, because being able there we go, Kai, hitting the road running already. You might be thinking, okay, but where do I go share this knowledge? I would like to introduce you to Dev2 or Dev.to. People disagree on how it's pronounced. I call it Dev2. This is a great platform for writing and sharing short form, long form blog posts. Make YouTube videos, make TikToks, make Twitter threads, live stream. Share your coding journey with the world for 2 reasons. 1, it's really good for learning to communicate. 2, it's a few reasons, right? I didn't say 2. It's really good for being able to get your name out there. And I think that's something, like, don't get me wrong, I try to stay humble, but I think it's important to take into account the fact that having people, like, having your presence be known, having the fact that you having having the presence of knowing that you've been live streaming, and when you go and show that to somebody and they see how you learn in public, that, you know, how we were talking about learning in public earlier, that's it. find a way to be able to do that works best for you. And that can also mean like, doing it with your group of accountability buddies. Did I miss anything, Galbrush?
I don't think so.
In that case, I'm going to take a moment to answer one more question from Anoke. Ramon, how do you deal with imposter syndrome after several months of learning programming? And I love this question because, and this is a personal opinion, okay? Let's take a second first to define imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is when you feel that even though you are very, very qualified to be able to be in that position that you're in that job, in that internship, in that open source project, you feel like you lied and cheated your way in. You feel like an imposter. And I don't want to demotivate you when I say this. I feel imposter syndrome to this day, and I've been doing this for over 10 years. I have days where I feel like a genius, but I also feel like I have days where I am this close to being fired from my job because I have no idea what I'm doing. So how do I deal with it? The difference of me from 10 years ago and me from now is that I have not so much had my imposter syndrome going away as much as I have learned to manage it. I've gotten a box of tools to, I wanted to say game of tools. I've been speaking too much Spanish lately. Sorry. A box of tools to be able to manage that. One of them, for example, is to embrace the chaos. By which I mean not everything is going to work right off the bat. Not everything is going to click in my head right off the bat. If everything were instantaneous, if learning were instantaneous, I wouldn't be programming, I would be playing the guitar. That's true. Yeah. My point is, I've learned to not so much embrace the fact that, not so much to wallow in the fact that there are going to be times when I don't understand things, so much as to embrace the fact that I can learn. I can pick up a skill. And the cool thing about programming is, even though at the beginning it can seem like completely hopeless, the solution will show up. You know what's one of the things I'm the worst at when it comes to programming? Asking for help. I hate asking for help. To this day, I'm terrible at it. But asking for help is such a critical part to a good team. Why? Because, and I understand why I know why I'm hesitant to ask for help. It's because on the one hand, if I ask for help too quickly before I don't even try to solve that problem, I rob myself of that learning opportunity. On the other hand, if I wait too long, which again, I am guilty of doing, I slow down a team, I slow down a project, I slow down a deadline. So what do? I came up with a heuristic. I came up with a methodology. I came up with a certain time limit where I say 30 minutes pass and I'm stuck on a problem. As Jess, I love when Jess says, we're going to go get a grown up. Because it's true. And because you go get some help. And that's such a critical part to it. So what do I do to deal with my imposter syndrome? I open up about it. I like something that we, and when I say we, I mean people who have been in this game for long, should do more of is be honest about it, is be more open about it, to show everybody that we don't have the answers right away. And if we did have the answers right away, we wouldn't need documentation. We just have all the answers right away. I went off on a rant there. Did I miss anything, Calrush?
No, but it was super lovely. I think everything you said is really to the point and just lovely.
Thank you.
And I think as soon as you figure out that asking for help and failing is not a weakness, that's like so far gone. If you figure out that those two things can be so good, then you've learned so much. And I'm still trying to learn it, but I think that's like that's what I'm trying to put into my brain beyond anything else, is that asking for help is good and being okay with failure is good. And that's just helping so much.
I love that.
Well then.
Folks, let you go get some rest. I said you've not seen The Last of Us. Please get some rest. Congratulations on making it through these 6 weeks. Congratulations on your ongoing journey. I wish you all the best. And thank you all so much for bearing with us. We'll keep in touch. Bye, everybody.
Bye.